She had faced presidents, walked through war zones, and changed lives. But this crowd rejected her. Oprah stood frozen as signs rose in silence. We don't want charity. We want Traoré. Not hate, not anger truth. It wasn't about her. It was about someone they trusted more. And that shook her. Alone in her hotel, Oprah typed his name, Ibrahim Traoré. The screen lit up with images. No suits, no slogans, just a man among people. One video played, "Charity without dignity is control." His voice was calm, his words sharp. She leaned forward. Something shifted. Another village, another wall. And there he was again, Traoré's name painted on stone. A boy selling fruit looked up. "You're the rich woman, right?" But he listens. The driver added, "He doesn't care about power. That's why he has it." Oprah nodded. She needed to know more. She watched him enter a school with no shoes, read with kids, laughed with elders. No speeches, no cameras, just presence. "They don't want me." "Because they already have him," Oprah whispered. But it didn't sting. It inspired. And now she had a question only he could answer. That night, she recorded a message. "Who is this man that makes the world choose him over me?" Her voice cracked. "Maybe I came to help, but I stayed to learn." If his story already speaks to you, like, comment, and subscribe. Because some voices demand we sit and listen. An email arrived. No signature, no flair. Just 3 words. "Let's talk." T. She stared for minutes. Her hand trembled. She answered, "When?" Seconds later. "Now." The screen went black. Then a voice. Calm. Unbothered. "Why do you want to help people who help themselves?" Oprah took a breath. "Because we forgot how to listen." Silence. Then a reply. Then come. Alone. No cameras. No press. Just her and a notebook. She packed light, boarded the plane. For the first time in years, she didn't know what to say, and that felt right. The village was alive with purpose. Children building. Elders debating. No one begged. No one waited. They don't need saving, she thought. They need seeing. She walked slowly. Every corner told a story. And none of them needed her voice, just her presence. He arrived without announcement. No guards, no crowd. Just him, dust on his boots. Oprah stood. He nodded once. "You came." "To listen," she said, "not to explain." He pointed to the earth. "Then sit. It starts here." And they sat. 2 giants sharing silence. A child approached, holding a faded notebook. "It's our story," he said. Oprah opened it gently. First page. No one is voiceless. They've just never been heard. She closed it slowly. That line would stay with her forever. She turned to Traoré. "Let's amplify this." She walked beside him through narrow paths. "This is where we lost 5, he said, pointing at dry soil. "Here, we gained a clinic." She nodded, silent. He never tried to impress, only to remember. And that's what made it unforgettable. They entered a factory with no doors. Children stitched shirts in silence. A girl, no older than 8, whispered, "If I stop, they hit my sister." Oprah's throat closed. Traoré whispered, "She doesn't need rescue. She needs the world to stop pretending not to see." Back at camp, Oprah sat by the fire. "Why is this hidden?" she asked. Traoré stirred the coals. "Because justice is louder than charity, and louder things scare them." She looked up. "Then we'll be louder." He didn't smile. "Be steady, not loud. Steady shakes mountains." She posted no photos. Instead, she wrote, "They don't need us to speak. They need space to speak." It went viral. But Traoré said, "Virality is fire. Truth is water. Choose what you carry." So she stopped writing and started walking more. A boy handed her a charcoal drawing, a lion and a dove. She asked, "What's this?" He said, "You and him." Oprah blinked. He's the lion, then? The boy shook his head. Sometimes the dove roars louder. She placed the drawing in her bag. It never left. That night, someone tweeted, "She brought the spotlight." He made them visible. Traoré read it aloud. Maybe we're not heroes. Maybe we're lenses. If you see yourself in this journey, comment lens below. Let's focus the world on what truly matters. Calls flooded in. News agencies, celebrities, corporations, all wanted a quote, a headline. Oprah declined. "This isn't my story," she said. "It's theirs," Traoré added. "Stories are sacred. Don't let them become slogans." And with that, silence returned. Together they launched a plan. No donors, no logos. Just villages choosing what they needed and all eyes listening. It was messy, slow, beautiful. "We don't plant for press," he said. "We plant for shade." And already shadows were forming. A letter arrived from a girl in Ghana. "My brother still works in the mine, but now he comes home smiling. He said someone said his name on a stage." Oprah folded the paper. "Names are beginnings," she whispered, and the world kept writing them down. At a summit, Oprah walked to the mic, but she didn't speak. She played a recording Traoré's voice, soft but clear. "They don't need voices. They need ears." The room fell silent. Some stood. Some cried. One delegate whispered, "We've been doing it all wrong." News anchors called it a movement. Protest signs now said, "Dignity is policy." From Kenya to Colombia, kids held journals instead of slogans. "We're writing our world now," one child said. Oprah saw it and whispered, "This isn't a ripple. It's a tide." In Argentina, students held silent march with Traoré's words on shirts. In France, murals of a lion and a dove appeared overnight. Oprah watched it unfold. "They're not following us," she said. "They're translating us into action." A mother from South Africa wrote to Oprah, "My son was a number in a system. Now he's a sentence in his own story." Oprah read it aloud to Traoré. He nodded slowly. "The world doesn't need heroes. It needs proof that courage is contagious." At a village gathering, a girl raised her hand. "What if they silence us again?" Traoré replied. "Then whisper louder." Oprah added, "And write it down. Words outlive fists." The crowd stood. They didn't cheer. They promised. A government offered millions to support the initiative. Traoré refused. No strings. Oprah followed suit. No stage. They chose bricks over banners, letters over likes. It wasn't efficient. But it was real, and that's why it worked. A teacher showed her class the drawing of the lion and dove. "What does this mean to you?" One girl replied, "They didn't roar. They showed up." If that message needs to reach someone you know, share this. Let them hear quiet power. In a remote corner of Nepal, a young filmmaker created a short titled, "First They Listened." It showed no faces. Only footsteps, books, fires, and open hands. When it ended, no one clapped. They just stood. Because some stories ask for silence, not applause. A boy ran to Oprah in tears. His village was being threatened for joining the project. They said, "We're too loud." Oprah knelt, took his hand, and said, "Then we'll be your echo." And echoes travel farther than threats ever will. Traoré visited a refugee camp. No speeches, just stories. One teen said, "They took everything, but not my name." Traoré handed him a notebook. "Then write it everywhere, until even the wind can spell it." The teen began that night. Under a tree lit by lanterns, Oprah asked, "What happens when we're gone?" Traoré answered, "If we did this right. They'll forget our names and remember their own." She smiled. "Then I hope they never say mine again." And meant it. In a small town, a teacher pointed to a blackboard that read, "Power listens." A child raised her hand. "Is that true?" The teacher smiled, only when people like Traoré reminded how. Outside, a boy chalked, "We're louder when we whisper together." An invitation came Nobel Committee. Oprah laughed. "He won't go," she asked anyway. Traoré replied, "I accept. If I can bring every name this movement carries." When they declined, he said, "Then I decline too. Because glory isn't the goal, growth is." At a market, a woman approached Oprah with tears. "I never thought I'd see my son read." Oprah embraced her. "You didn't just see it, you made it happen." Behind them, the boy read to a crowd. The story? His own. A podcast host asked, "What drives you, Traoré?" He replied, "Every child working when they should be laughing. Every mother forced to beg. Every village erased from maps. What drives me? Memory and the refusal to forget." A child handed Oprah a broken pencil. "It still writes," he said. She kept it. That night, she wrote in her journal, "Sometimes power isn't standing tall. Sometimes it's writing with what they tried to snap." And that page became a speech. An elder in Ethiopia said, "I never thought I'd see a woman like her walk beside a man like him." A boy added, "They walk like rivers, different, but they flow the same. If their flow moved, you subscribe. The current is far from over." A young activist in Detroit sent them a message. "You gave us language for what we felt our whole lives." Oprah replied with a simple line, "Then speak. Don't wait for permission." The activist printed it on posters. They sold out. At the final global gathering, neither of them spoke. They played voices from villages, letters from miners, songs from children. The final line? A whisper from a girl, "You found us." And the whole room stood in stillness. They returned to the village where it began. Oprah planted a tree beside the old well. "For the unheard," the plaque read. A child asked, "Will it grow big?" Traoré replied, "Only if we keep watering it with attention." And they did. That night, under the stars, Oprah asked, "Will the world stay loud after us?" Traoré smiled. "If we did it right, they won't hear us, they'll hear themselves." She exhaled. Then silence was never weakness. It was the seed. And the wind carried it. In a village library, a shelf stood labeled "Stories We Lived." It held notebooks from children, letters from miners, and poems by mothers. One child pointed to it and said, "That's our museum." Oprah blinked. "But it's not the past." "No," the girl smiled, "it's proof." At a school opening, a student recited, "Power isn't what you hold, it's what you return." The class clapped. Behind them, a new wall read, "They didn't build us. They unlocked us." Traoré stood at the back. No applause. Just presence. Oprah visited a radio station run by teens. They broadcasted stories from remote villages. One host said, "They don't have phones, but they have voices. We lend the mic." She nodded. "Then keep it charged. You're lighting up corners no one sees." A child once lost in the labor mines sent a photo. "Now a teacher," he wrote. "I stand where they buried me and I grow." Oprah framed it. Below, she wrote, "Sometimes revolution smells like chalk, not smoke." A sculptor unveiled a statue, a child holding a book standing on a broken chain. No name on the base. Just one line. "Built by the herd?" Traoré smiled. "Good. Let them forget us." But not the work. Oprah whispered, "They never will." A mother wrote, "They brought water." Then asked what we truly needed. Her daughter added, "They listened like family." If you felt that truth anywhere in your bones, comment heard, some stories don't end. They echo. Traoré stepped down from office quietly. No farewell. No cameras. When asked why, he said, "I was never the seat. I was the reminder." Oprah wrote one final note. "When the guide walks away, it means the path is yours now." Oprah declined another global award. Instead, she mailed it to a village girl who wrote her first essay. With it, "This belongs to the next voice. The one's not shaped yet. The one's strong enough to bend nothing." A new foundation rose built by villagers, funded by none. They called it Volume, not charity, not politics. Just space to speak, its motto. Not louder, clearer. The logo, a lion, but not roaring listening. On her last visit, Oprah sat under a tree they once planted. Children gathered. One asked, "Did you change the world?" She smiled. "No, I helped you notice it could be changed." That child now runs the school. They sent no newsletter, no grand finale, just scattered stories left to grow. A poem taped on a window, a quote written on a wall, a name whispered in class. The story didn't stop. It just stopped needing them. In a broadcast years later, a young speaker said, "I stand on the shoulders of the ones who bent down, not up." Traoré and Oprah were never named, but their words were everywhere. Like roots. A refugee child drew a globe, no borders, only bridges. He wrote, "I've never been anywhere, but they brought everywhere to me." On the back he signed, "Future." Oprah kept it beside her passport. Traoré now taught quietly in small villages. No titles. No spotlight. He listened more than he spoke. And when asked who he was, he always replied, "A student, still learning from those no one taught." On an old wall, faded words remained. He walked in silence. She stood without fear. We rose. Tourists passed it daily. Most didn't notice, but some stopped, took photos, and walked away changed. In a documentary, a girl said, "They were just two people, but they made us feel like many." The screen faded to black. Then the words, "You're next." It wasn't a warning. It was a torch. A new movement rose, not to follow, but to grow. No hashtags. No heroes. Just neighborhoods filled with hands building, mouths teaching, and hearts listening. This wasn't legacy. This was continuation. One last journal entry remained. Oprah wrote it with a blunt pencil. He didn't raise armies. He raised mirrors. And when the world looked, it saw itself. Then she closed the book and opened space for the next story.